Introductions, please.
Good morning, panelists, invited guests, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you all to the 6th session of MTN's Revv Masterclass series. My name is Obi Namweje, and I'm General Manager, Customer Acquisition at MTN Nigeria. I would like to start this morning by reminding us all that the Revv program is actually MTN's Give Back initiative, which is aimed at supporting small and medium enterprises to relearn, rethink, and retool their businesses for growth now and in the aftermath of the pandemic. The Revv program is really about learning from each other's rich experiences. It's about reigniting the spark in our various different businesses and adapting our businesses not just to survive, but also to thrive in these changed times. Over the 5 past masterclasses, we've had a very rich and interactive experience. Those sessions have attracted well over 3,000 participants with more than 700 subject-specific questions asked and answered by a rich array of panelists. We have covered different subjects, ranging from marketing, education, sales and productivity support, as well as advisory services. All of these have been specially designed for small and medium enterprises. The level of engagement and feedback has indeed been awesome, and this indicates that the SMEs that have participated have found the sessions very valuable. Our goal remains to enable you and equip you, our dear SMEs, on your journey to economic growth. Today's masterclass is going to focus on customer experience, and we're going to explore how customer experience can be redefined through effective customer relationship management and data analytics. It has been said by experts that if you want your customers to fall in love with you,
I think we've lost Mr. Obina, the moderator.
All right, good morning and welcome to the masterclass that is focusing on customer experience. We hope that we'll be able to get Obina back. My own name is Kolawole Oyeyemi, and I'm sure that when Obina gets back, it's going to loop us, loop into whatever we're doing currently. So on behalf of MTN leadership and the team that has put this together, I'd like to welcome everybody and try to play Obina's role, as it were, in the meantime. I mean, this is a wonderful opportunity for us to further give back to the society, especially to the SMEs and who, serve as the bedrock of every economy's growth globally. Okay, it's not the large corporates that do it alone, but the real engine room of growth and economic transactions within the SME environment. And so what we'll be doing today is to see how we work through the subject of customer experience and how customer relationship management is critical to delivering the best of experiences to our customers. Okay, now we have a very rich repertoire of panelists today, and I'm really looking forward to an exciting time because when you look at the kind of personalities that we have here, we're moving right from one end of the spectrum of practicing SMEs who have built successful businesses, and then we'll go right through to the other end of the spectrum, where we're looking at people with very sound intellectual frameworks for building successful SMEs, who are not just framework builders, but people who also practice it. So you have a combination of both practice and theory, and you have consulting, and you have somebody who has been supervising or superintending, let me use that expression, like some people would like to use it, okay, over the largest base of customer care function in any organization you can imagine in MTN. And then you have somebody who is a master of data sciences. And so it's going to be a very exciting time today. And so without much ado, I'd like to just introduce the panelists so that we see how very fortunate we are. To every SME we hooked up right now, I consider you very, very fortunate. My job is just to ensure that things work well and we're able to extract the most juice out of the wonderful people that we have here on the platform today. And so just to give you as a top line, we have 5 powerful people. Number 1, we have Ugonwa Nwoye, we have Olubayo Adekombi, we have Prof. Ndubuisi Ekekwe, and then we have Debbie Akwara, and of course we have Adenike Ogunlesi. Now, I will take time to read the bios of these individuals so that you know that for you to be hooked up this morning is a huge privilege, and we are very, very excited as MTN to be bringing you these personalities. So I'll start from home, okay? They say charity begins at home, so I'll start with Hugo. I call her Hugo, okay? That's our Chief Customer Services. She's a chief, so please, when you address her next time, call her chief, okay? All right. She is a management professional with over 25 years of experience across various industries, including telecommunications, management consulting, and you'll be shocked, oil and gas. You wonder why would somebody run away from oil and gas into telecoms, okay? But you get to know the passion that comes through when she begins to talk about customer relations, okay? She has led the creation and implementation of innovation strategies, as well as the development of transformational customer operations initiatives for one of the largest telecoms companies in Africa. And that is no other one but MTN, okay? So as head of innovation and product development of MTN Nigeria for several years, she was responsible for defining and delivering product roadmaps for key consumer segments that drove revenues and business growth. And of course, most importantly, positioned the company as the market leader in innovation. And then as Chief Customer Relations Officer of MTN, she leads a wide-ranging customer operation and has overseen the business transformation process in this area. Ugonwa is also a board member of Content Connect International, a new media and content and entertainment company. And in her private capacity, she works with organizations as a mentor to young professionals. Now, wait a minute, please. Ugonwa holds a bachelor's degree in electronics engineering. And now help me here, electronics engineering and customer relations. So you understand where we're coming from today, from the University of Nigeria, and a master's in business administration from the Harvard Business School. So we got a loaded chick in the house this morning. So ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome Ugonwa Nwoye as our first panelist I'll be introducing today. And just wait for it. You're going to be mightily, powerfully excited as she brings on board, various dimensions of her background in terms of studies and the background in terms of
Hello. It seems we may have lost Kola there, but I'm sure he's going to be back on shortly. So next on our panel today, I will be introducing Mrs. Adenike Ogunlesi, who is Nigeria's foremost fashion entrepreneur with over 35 years in the fashion and retail business. So we're happy to have you here, madam.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
She's the creative director of Nigeria's premier and premium children's clothing brand, Rough and Tumble. So it's a very familiar name. To support the retail operations, she created Gatimo Apparel Manufacturing, a state-of-the-art garment manufacturing facility with the capacity to contract manufacture high-quality garments and accessories. With the skilled strength of over 200 people, Rough and Tumble has shared happiness to over 1 million children and thousands of families. A passionate speaker and advocate for more equitable society with women owning their greatness by believing the truest expression of themselves while being financially independent. Adenike founded the Betty Okubejo Foundation, which empowers young individuals with skills in garment making and entrepreneurship. She's a non-executive director of Lafarge Wholesale PLC and the founding member and first president of the Network of Entrepreneurial Women at the Nigeria's Employers Consultative Association, NECA. She is also an advisory board member and mentor at WISCA, which is Women in Successful Careers, a structured mentoring program for young women, and the coordinator of the Marriage and Family Life Unit at the Catholic Church of the Presentation. So you can see, like Kola had started, we have a very loaded panel. We're very honored to have you here, madam. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
Now I'm going on to our next panelist. I'm going to introduce Debbie Akwara. Now, Debbie Onome Akwara is the founder and principal at Niche Customer Experience. Niche CX firm is Nigeria's boutique customer experience management firm, offering generic and bespoke customer experience services and training to leading medium and large organizations. Some of the customers she works for include Fidelity Bank, Zenith General Insurance, MTN, Jamin Auto Center, Diamond Bank, and a host of others. So Debbie has over 20 years of experience delivering customer experience success for local, Pan-African, and international organizations across different industries. Prior to Niche Customer Experience firm, Debbie managed customer experience at First City Monument Bank, Zenith Bank, United Bank of Africa, Etisalat, and Bridge International Academies. Debbie has been recognized as one of the top 150 customer experience thought leaders and influencers in Survey Senum in 2020. She is globally sought after and an author of Customer Service and Trade Management Nigeria. So I would like us to please welcome our next panelist, Debbie. Thank you to be here, Debbie. Thank you for being here. All right.
All right. Thank you, Alex, for bailing me out. Okay, I'm back
Great.
in now.
Happy to have you.
Like they will say in my village, say shame to bad people. I'm back online now. Okay. Now, thank you very much for bailing me out at that point. And thanks, Debbie, and welcome again. And so that will move us to the next person in our next panel member, and that is Bayo Adekombi. Okay. Bayo is an award-winning business executive. I think we should have Bayo in focus right now and not me, so that, okay, good, excellent. Thank you very much. Okay. It's an award-winning business executive who combines experience in strategy, marketing, analytics, and business transformation from two largest economies in Africa, that's Nigeria and South Africa. He's a CAGLI validated hands-on data scientist and a doctoral researcher with a data science product patent on social pricing recommendation. He graduated with distinction from the University of Reading Postgraduate School, United Kingdom, and has also had both full-time and executive education in many other leading institutions, including Columbia Business School, New York, the University of Chicago Booth School of Business, Chicago, INSEAD Business School, France, Telecoms Training Institute, London, ETH Zurich, Switzerland, and Carleton College of Business at the University of Kentucky. Okay, he was on PhD research sabbatical at City University of London between 2015 July and September 2016 from his role as the Chief Marketing and Strategy Officer at MTN Nigeria, where he has also been awarded with the prestigious MTN Yellow Star Award for the conceptualization of a customer value/risk management framework, which led to multi-billion naira revenue growth. Now, post-sabbatical, Bayo is back at MTN Nigeria as a Chief Transformation Officer, driving a holistic program aimed to accelerate business and financial performance through business re-engineering, innovation, and advanced analytics. He's the convener of Data Science Nigeria, a non-profit that is building a world-class artificial intelligence knowledge, research, and innovation ecosystem, which delivers high impact and transformational research, business use applications, AI-first startups, employability, and social good use cases. Is the author of The Future is Shared, Artificial Intelligence Simplified for Starters and Beginners of Artificial Intelligence and Python Programming for Primary and Junior Secondary School. Now, that's a loaded bio. So please, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Olubayo Adekombi to the session this morning. Bayo, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And last but not the least, you know, in my village, there's something they say that it is the biggest masquerade, okay, that you live, for the last, not because of any you know, ranking right now, but when we have a professor in the house, we shall allow the professor to close the panel, you know, bio reading. So can I have Prof please on now and have Bio, you know, step in line for the interview next. So we have Professor Ndubuisi Ekekwe. Okay, good. Thank you very much, Prof. And Prof is, let me start very well. Okay, Prof invented and patented a robotic system which the United States government acquired assignee rights in 2017. That's a massive one. Congratulations, Prof. Okay, he holds 2 doctoral and 4 master's degrees, including a PhD in engineering from Johns Hopkins University, USA. You see why it's coming as they want to close the bio reading. Okay, he earned an undergraduate degree from FUT Owerri, where he graduated as his class best student. And while in analog devices core, he co-designed an accelerometer for the iPhone. He's the recipient of IGI Global Book of the Year Award, a TED Fellow, IBM Global Entrepreneur, and World Economic Forum Young Global Leader. Prof. Ekekwe has held professorships in Carnegie Mellon University and Babcock University and served in the United States National Science Foundation Committee. Now, since 2009, the lead faculty of Techidia Institute and chairman of Pharmacicro Group with investments in 32 startups, 32. Pharmacicro Group is a dynamic, diversified conglomerate with interests in technology, finance, and agriculture. It owns or co-owns 31 companies, such include Zenvos, Zydo Logistics, Spicy Autos, Tap, That's Touch and Pay, InfoPrive, BitFixed, Curious AI, Game Traction, Deal Room, Lafia Telehealth, Molue Pro, Bip Tool, 7Flex, Metsera, eCentry, etc., in 4 continents. Okay. Now, these companies generate millions of dollars in revenue and employ thousands. Now, anybody here listening, you will know that we have a powerful panel this morning, and I just consider myself very privileged to be the moderator because I'm just going to be having fun, okay? Going left, right, and center and asking questions and having fun, but more importantly, ensuring that our people out there are getting the best of this session today. So, ladies and gentlemen, join me as we welcome Professor Ekekwe to actually the panelists this morning. So that's what we have in terms of, you know, the bio reading, and I'll just give us a bit of an overview as we get into the business of the day, okay? We're talking redefinition of your customer experience through the CRM, okay, or data analytics, as we call it, CRM and data analytics, okay? Now, for me, let me put my one penny thought on the table and then provide that kind of a background. I see customer experience, which is my core function today, as what I call customer intimacy being at the heart of customer experience, okay? And then what do we talk about? When we talk about intimacy, we're talking about you getting the required insight about your customers, okay? Knowing your customer intimately, okay? Because that helps you to then generate insight and use such insights to develop propositions, use such insights to develop a very, very, you know, smart customer journey that will ensure that your customers get the best of delightful experiences. And of course, you also use it for effective care. And so for me, it's about intimacy first, all right? Now, we've seen that in the last couple of months, that concept has been tampered with by COVID-19, okay? And so all of a sudden, People no longer have access to the kind of relationship they used to have with their customers. Okay, and so care has been hampered in a very significant manner. Okay, so access is difficult to customers, and customers too can't come freely to meet with their clients, as it were. Responsiveness in terms of turnaround time, even when there's a problem, has been hampered because all of a sudden, call centers are shut down, people have to work remotely and all. So access became remote instead of, real and physical. And then, of course, one of the most powerful things about human relationships is the touch, the one-on-one touch that generates empathy. Now, that's also been missing in the last couple of months. So everything's become, more remote than ever before. But thankfully, it's been enabled by technology, as it were. So we find that the environment is significantly changed with COVID-19. And so you're starting from a place where customer intimacy was important to you as a business owner, as an SME, okay, where you need to know your customer, develop systems and processes and back it up with technology to enable you to know your customers well. So you can design, products, design the journeys for the customers, design proposing different dimensions so that the customer ends up being a very delighted customer consistently, now that we have this situation on hand. So this is the background to which we'll be speaking to today. You say, how do we bring back empathy? Okay, how do we bring back this intimacy that we so much desire with our customers? How do we ensure care is not missed? Okay, how do we ensure that we are able to respond to that customer at the speed that the customer desires it? So this is the real issue that we'll be dealing with here, and we're focusing on the SMEs. Okay, to say, look, for you to grow, you need this level of intimacy with your customers. So, and when you look at the panel and how rich the panel is, we're looking again at theoretical framework, intellectual framework, and brass tag, roll up your sleeves, people who have been in the trenches, who have done it and have succeeded at it. So you're going to get a whole lot of value today. So with that background, I want to start off this session this morning, okay, to say that part of what's also going to happen at some point, we're going to have polls on this session, and the polls is going to help us to generate some kind of answers that will be useful for us as we go by. All right, so let me start the questions, okay, because I'm going to throw some questions to our panel members, okay, and then as we develop other questions will get generated. And please, viewers and people who are following us, you can also post your questions as this issue gets discussed. And because new vistas, okay, of knowledge will come up as people speak today, and you do yourself a lot of good to just take the notes and then ask the questions for clarity where it is necessary. So I'm going to start with Adenike Ogunlesi, okay, the founder of Rough and Tumble, okay, because like I did say, we're moving from practice, okay, and then situate practice within an intellectual framework, okay, and then when we had a session earlier, she had said, there are some people that went to the University of Life, okay, now there's no better university than that university because that's where your theories are tested, okay. One of my, seniors in the marketing industry in those days will tell you strategy is action. It's not about your PowerPoint. It's about what you do when the rubber hits the road, about what you do at that moment of truth, not about the intellectual, quantification that you do. So I'm coming to Adenike to say, okay, madam, you're welcome. So you're going to take the first shot from me, but I tell you, it's not a bullet that hurts. It won't hurt you, okay? All right.
Creating a platform that allows SMEs to learn much quicker than the opportunities we got 20, 30 years ago. So well done to MTN. So I think I would like to put this in perspective, as you quite rightly said, from the University of Life. So where would I begin? I think for me, the most important thing is that regardless of the technology that you deploy or the technological tools that you deploy, today is about the experiential economy. It's an experiential economy. And if you understand what the experiential economy is all about, it's about the way you make people feel. And to achieve that, you have to create, it's about an ecosystem that not only covers your customers, your partners, your stakeholders, your HR, your culture, your sales, and omnichannel, which is a must for all businesses in today's world. So how do you make people feel? You were talking about empathy in today's world. It's an experiential economy. Everybody wants to feel good wherever it is they're spending their money. So how does data help you build these powerful emotional connections that then makes your customers advocates at all levels. For us, is both customer and consumer. So we have two different types of customers. We have a customer who is paying, and we have a consumer who is actually wearing the clothes. So we have two different types of influencers. So it takes me to a quote that Maya Angelou says that, you know, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, people will forget everything else, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So today for me, it's about how did we create that feeling in Rough and Tumble, and how did data help us do this? I'm a very customer conscious person. And so starting out with the business, it was always about the customer. So long as you're able to create value and add value in the marketplace, your business will always be relevant. Now, as you're creating the value, what tools are you using to gather the data that actually helps you serve those customers better? So for us from the beginning, we didn't start with an ERP solution tool, but we started with simple tools like Dark Easy, QuickBooks, those kind of tools that you feed in the data that you want to get out of it. So what are the parameters that you're looking for? So I would use us as an example. What were we looking for? We wanted to know who was buying what. Why were they buying the things that they were buying? Where were they buying the things that they were buying? And why were they buying the things that they were buying? So it meant that whatever we fed into the tool needed to give us that information. Now, drilling down, it also meant what was the customer, what age of clothing was the customer buying? So again, we had to fill in another set of parameters that showed us the age the customer was buying, the color the customer was buying, the time the customer was buying it, the location in which the customer was buying all of this. When you say you need to know your customer intimately, this is the way you get to know your customer intimately. Because the data you then get from this then helps you serve the customers better by helping you, enabling you to put the right mix of merchandise in all your different locations. No use for us, for example, sending shorts to our store in Kano, because the mothers in Kano don't buy shorts for their children. So you'll be able to tell from the data. That is the function of the data for me. It gives you insights. But in the middle of in the heart of your business is this entire ecosystem that is made up of all the different parties that work with your business. And if you are not, it's for me, customer service management is a lifestyle. It's a culture. It's a way of doing things. It's not just a poster on the wall. It's how do you treat people when they come into your store or when they shop with you online. It must remain seamless when they go online for us and when they come to the store. The experience must remain seamless. In fact, we're saying that even online, the experience must be even higher, in that you must meet the deadlines. They must get their packages at the time that you say they will get the packages. These things for me are the things that are very important when you're talking about customer insights and data analytics. Now, seasons, our business is in seasons. How do we know what customers want for a particular season? Again, it's the data that we draw from the inputs into our ERP. Now we're using an ERP because the business, of course, is much bigger with 17 locations and an e-commerce platform. We are now using an ERP solution that is actually telling us what our customers are doing and how we can better serve our customers. Now, this also helps us when there is a customer complaint and there is a resolution. We have to have we have to find resolution for the customer. We have a case study, for example, where I don't know how it happened, but it happened. One of the dresses we put out bled, and the customer complained about it, and another customer complained about it. Because we had the data of all the customers that bought that dress, we were able to send an email to all of those customers and give them 100% refund for that dress and recall the dresses. Whether they brought it in store or they didn't bring it back in store, we really didn't care at that point. What we wanted to do was give them a refund. Now, when you make people feel like they matter, they're an important part of your business by the actions, as you said, it's not your strategy, it's your actions. It's not the words, it's your actions. you will find that the data becomes absolutely imperative to growing your business. So for us, we can't live without data. Technology is the backbone, is the entire backbone of our entire organization. All our systems are linked together in one server room that tells us real time what is being bought in what location, at what time, by whom, so long as the customer volunteers their data. Now, if the customer doesn't volunteer the data, what are the incentives that we can give to the customer to volunteer the data? So it would be things like loyalty points. It's things like we'll send you, when it's your children's birthday, we send you a 10% voucher to be able to shop for them on their birthday. Again, if we haven't seen you for a while in the store, we can send you an email that says that we miss you and we'd like to see you back in store, and we'll give you 10% discount for you to come back in store to come and shop. Now, you said something which I think is so important, that you need to know your customers intimately. It is the data that allows you to know your customers intimately. Looking through what they buy, when they buy it, what they bought, what ages, what colors, what styles, is what enables us to ensure that the price mix in our stores, the price architecture in each store is different from, for example, the price architecture in Lagos Palms is different from the price architecture in Kano. Because in Kano, they will not buy dresses that are a certain price. It's again, is the data that gives us that information. So for us, data is the backbone of our business. We cannot do anything without the data. We cannot communicate with our customers without the data. And we cannot create the experiences that we like to give our customers without the data. So for us, data is the backbone of everything that we
Thank you very much. I could almost start clapping for you right now, because I was taking notes as you were talking, madam. And I'd like to just do a recap of some things that you said in terms of how you've used. First, you agree with what I had said initially about intimacy, and you think clearly that data is actually the heart of delivering on that intimacy, because that's where you get your insight from. And then you said some things that are very, very important for us to take away from that. That the issue of customer care or customer experience is a lifestyle, is a culture, is a way of doing things, okay? It's not just what I call a module in a business school, okay? It's not just something we do casually. So I'm quite excited about that. And then you spoke about the seamlessness of your online and offline offerings. And then, of course, differentiated pricing. All of this built on the back of data. All right, thank you very much, because I'm going to look from here to ask for some bit of a framework that backs up what you've just said, and then I'll come back to you later. But right now, before we go on, there's a poll that is about to go now. I think it's going on right now. I don't know how far we've gone with the poll. I can see it's pop up on my screen. So what are the primary ways you currently engage and sell to your customers? Okay, use a poll to participants. Please participate in the poll, and then we'll come back to you and give you the result of that. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for participating. So thank you again, madam, for such very deep insight. I'm still going to come back to you, because I got two questions for you. Tack to one now. Okay. So I'll swing right to the other end. Madam has spoken so very well in very eloquent terms about how she uses tools to gather data. And she said something that this is all about experiential economy. And we all know that that's the reality of our lives today. And so I'm going to be asking you, Prof, everything madam has spoken, when you situate them with.
Hello. It seems that we've lost connection there. Yeah.
Yeah, we seem to have lost a connection there.
I think I can go ahead.
Prof, you kind of got what I was about to ask you, right?
Yeah, I can just go ahead. And okay, so thank you so much. Thank you, MTN, for this amazing opportunity for us to come here and have this conversation on the mechanics of markets and how we can help these startups and SMEs to improve efficiency and the utilization of factors of production to advance the African continent. Typically, when I want to discuss the whole issues of customer experience, I want to begin by looking at the mission of firms. Why are we really in business? Why are we opening up shops across cities in Nigeria to tell people to come into our companies to buy or participate in the business of commerce. Of course, there is a reason why we're in business, because there is a friction that exists in the market, which we have identified that we have the capacity to go into that market system and fix that friction. So if you are a mechanic shop today, or if you're a fashion designer, or if you're somebody that's offering a consulting service, or anything you are doing as an SME, you have something you believe you can offer in the market to fix a specific friction which exists in the market. And that friction is really the needs that the customers have, the things that the customers need in the market to be done, the problems that the customers are essentially going through, and you think you can help them to fix that particular problem. In any market, there is demand and supply. Someone who has something to deliver and somebody that needs that particular thing. So it comes down, how can you be a very efficient company or an institution that can fix that market friction that exists in the market? It comes down to one thing. It comes down to the postulation by Pythagoras many centuries ago. As they were debating the material component of the universe, Pythagoras noted one thing. He said that the world is nothing but numbers. And if the world is nothing but numbers, the implication is that everything we do in this world is nothing but numbers. It means that the business of customer service is nothing but numbers. If you understand the numbers around your customers, you will rule your market. You will have the capacity to grow your business, because through the numbers of your customer, you can have a better visibility on the trajectory that this business is going. So if our world is numbers, customer service is also built on numbers. And how can you build those numbers? It means that you have to have a capability in order to serve that specific market where you are. Businesses go into the world to fix a friction. And the friction is a need that exists in the market. And I make it very simple here. Let's assume that NDBC has just landed in Lagos and there is no restaurant. Let's assume there is no restaurant in Lagos. There is only, and I'm very, very hungry. There is something I have to do. I have to start knocking at every door in Lagos looking for somebody that has food. He can sell to me. And you agree with me that our process is exceedingly not productive, because at that time, I may just knock on the first 100 houses and they don't have food to sell to me. But when I'm also looking for somebody to sell food to me, there is this propensity that somebody also looking for somebody to sell food. So what happens? Because of information asymmetry, NDBC that is hungry cannot find somebody to sell him food. And somebody who has food cannot find NDBC to sell food. So what happens? Mama Nkechi wakes up one morning and says, let me start up a company. And that company will be called Mama Nkechi Restaurant or Mama Nkechi Kitchens. And that means that Mama Nkechi Kitchen now has assumed the position of becoming a company in order to fix a friction which existed between NDBC who wants to eat food and somebody who actually has food to sell. So the next time I'm hungry in Lagos, I don't need to be knocking at every door. What do? I just go to Mama Nkechi Kitchen to eat. That Mama Nkechi Kitchen has fixed a friction which has existed in the market. This construct runs across all ordinance of market systems. If you are in the banking, if you are in telecom, if you are in oil and gas, you are there to fix a friction. So the question, how can you fix a friction if you do not understand the customers you are actually trying to fix the frictions on? That's why the essence of data becomes very, very important. And that essence of data helps you to understand the position or the angle that these customers are coming from. If you have that data and you have the capability to make sense of that data, you are going to move people that were consumers. They come and buy and go. They don't come back to customers. They come back and come back. But the greatest of all is when you can get them into the level of fandom. A level of fandom is when they become an advocate for you. They are no more just coming to buy from you. They come back and they can also go and tell people that, oh, this is the company that delivers the services that I need in this particular domain. And I like to give people this experience about iPhone. You know, people take a day out of work in America. They go to the very, very cold weather, leave their homes at 3:30 a.m. in the morning because the shop is opening at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. The guy has taken a day out of work. He's taking a 2-week of paycheck to go and buy a device. And once he gets that, he takes a picture and he posts it on Twitter and say, hey guys, I have the latest iPhone. That guy is not a consumer. He is not just a customer, he is a fan. And for us here, the key thing for us is how can we move our customers from the level of being just customer to the level of fandom? Because it's only when you can move them to the level of fandom, that is the time great things begin to happen in our businesses. And it has to come that we cannot just be serving them at the needs of these customers. You know, I say it this way. Companies that focus on serving the needs of customers are never going to be great companies. You need to serve the needs of customers. That's what the customers know they need. But you have to go beyond their needs to the expectations. Because it's only when you are serving beyond their needs or the expectation, that is also the time you can begin to move them from becoming customers into fans. Let's assume I'm living in Enugu today, and you're giving me electricity from coal, and I'm an environmental activist. You've given me electricity from coal, you have met my needs, but you've not met my expectation. My expectation is that somebody will give me electricity for renewable energy because I'm an environmental activist. So that means that if you give me electricity from coal, if another company comes, that a customer experience will now evolve in my life that I will say, let me sign up with this company that giving me this electricity from renewable energy. And that means that he has moved me from the level of my needs to the level of my expectation. That is not just expectation that matters, even you need to move customer to the level of perception. Take them to that moment where they never even imagined it was possible. That the day they come into an experience with your product, they begin to say, wow, I have never even imagined that something like this is possible. That's what they call a new basis of competition. It's something that when you deliver into the market, you change the rule of the game. And it's very, very critical for us to understand that as we serve customers, as we try to engage with customers, going back to that original postulation by Pythagoras, that the world is nothing but numbers. If we pay attention to numbers, we will find a path into the hearts of these customers. You know, in our startups, we have about 32 startups we work with, and most of them, they do really very great. One of the things we have realized even in Lagos is that founders that spend so much effort to understand what their customers need, how to serve their customers, they turn out to outperform their competitors. They turn out to outperform their peers. But those that have made up their minds that this is what the customers want, even without making efforts to understand this customer, there is always a massive dislocation. There is a reason for that. If business is nothing but to fix friction, it's only by understanding what the frictions are in the lives of customers. That is the only way you can actually have the capacity to go into the market and create a product or service, because there is only one way to overcome friction. You need to exert force. And in market today, the force you exert to overcome market friction is products and services. If you exert products and services, you overcome the frictional forces that customers have. And when you do that very well, glory awaits. Revenue goes up, profit advances, and you help people get back to where they need to be. So let me stop it from there. As we continue this conversation, we will be extrapolating those hypotheses. Thank you.
Professor, Prof, I hear it, okay? You know, the more you were talking, the more I was thinking of, I was listening to Martin Luther King, the one with the deliberateness of your words, the gestures. It just talks about the profundity of the knowledge that you have and the assurance of what you're talking about. And I picked up some very good nuggets I just like to drop on the table. I mean, you talked about friction. I mean, it's my first time of hearing friction. I used to see it as needs, but now you've called it friction. You know, we need to learn some professorial grammar as we go by that we can use so that next time I'm talking, I talk about, you know, customer friction. Don't be surprised that I stole it from you, okay? All right. And then you talked about, I mean, I hope nobody wake up tomorrow with Mama Nkechi's Kitchen. I think we'll patent it on this platform, okay? that Mama Nkechi's Kitchen should start, from this station. Okay, so thank you very much. Okay, but in all of this, you talked about how you use data, okay, to move customers from being just customers, okay, and to a level of becoming fans. And you said fandom level. And I found that quite exciting, fandom. And I've heard the word fans used, but I've never seen as fandom. Okay, so there are a couple of very exciting stuff that we've taken away from here, okay? And then you talked about the fact that the great companies go beyond needs, okay, to satisfying expectations, okay? And that's the new basis of competition as you talk about it now. These are very profound, okay, what I'll call pieces of knowledge that I've picked away from what you've said. And it just further reinforces what, okay, Mrs. Ogunlesi had mentioned on earlier on in terms of how she runs that business. Now we're seeing a theoretical framework that also, you started from Pythagoras, okay? Wow. Very powerful, okay? Now, when you say that the world is reducible to numbers, which is what I picked from the foundation of what you said, okay? It means numbers are very important, okay? But it must be numbers that are wrapped with value or wrapped in value, as it were. Okay? Otherwise, the numbers will be nothing if there's no value that wraps it up nicely. And so I'm going to move from you right now because I'm still going to come back to you, okay, as time permits us. I'll go to you, go now, Ogonwa, because when you talk about numbers, she's got numbers right underneath her armpit, okay, that she sits on. And my question would be to Ogonwa to say, okay, all right, today as Chief Enterprise, Enterprise, Linda, pardon me, okay, I will never come between the two of you or between the two, both of you, okay? All right, that you engage customers today through different channels, whether phone calls, Instagram, Facebook, walk-ins, and WhatsApp. How can you unify these channels? And what tools do you currently use or do you think people can use to drive efficiency in terms of, aggregating these multiple touch points, given the kind of numbers that you have? And we're coming from Prof, who's talked about numbers. So you go.
Kolawu, that's how I call you too, my pastor. Okay, so thank you so much for this opportunity to talk about channels. And as you said, one of the things that we experience nowadays is that customers visit businesses via different channels. When Mrs. Ogunlesi was talking, she was talking about the various channels that have developed over the years, aside from the 17 shops that Rough and Tumble have, for example, where customers are now visiting, websites and, they're first doing all sorts of research, they're checking your competition, they're trying to make up their minds, and then they start to interact with you. One of the things that we tend to say in MTN is that you fish where the fish are. The fish, which are the customers this time, you need to meet them at the point of their need. You need to meet them where they are. And that is when we talk about the multi-channels that the customers tend to interact with us. So several businesses that have interacted with SMEs in Nigeria do already have these multiple channels. And I'm glad to see that many businesses in Nigeria are embracing digital channels already. And that they're also trying to run, as close as possible to the omni-channel nirvana, that has been in the space of customer experience for a while, where businesses try to offer a personalized and seamless experience, regardless of the channel that you take to get to the business. In order to do that, you have to have obviously a good customer database. It's already bounded in strategy. What is your customer management strategy? What sorts of objectives do you have for your customers? And part of that is to have some sort of centralized database, a base of customers that have attributes that you collect and enrich on a regular basis, so that you have a good understanding of the numbers that Prof just talked about. Mr. Ogunlesi talked about the fact that everything that she's doing, the decisions that she's making around her customers are fully founded on the insights and knowledge that she and her business have gathered over the years about those customers, those aggregates and aggregates of customers that make up the insights that you get. So in order for you to serve your customers that way, as I mentioned, you need to know the kinds, for your own kind of business, the kinds of channels that your own kinds of customers want to come through. So if, for example, you're an MTN, our customers would like to come through a call center, for example, our older customers. But we also have our younger customers who want to come through our social media channels, where they will tend to express themselves and they will have different needs of those channels. we have attributes of the customers that help us to recognize them, no matter where the customers are. And it's founded on a customer relationship management system. Ms. Ogunlesi talked about the ERP system that they currently use, but at the beginning of Rough and Tumble, she also talked about the fact that they started off with things like QuickBooks. So as your business evolves, you can have, some people actually start on spreadsheets. What you need is to make sure that you already have a strategy that says, I want to be able to recognize my customer, and these are the customer experiences that I'm going to design for my customers. What we call in MTN customer journeys. These are the customer journeys that our customers take when they are going through the discovery approach, when they're going through the contacting approach, when they're going through the buying approach, when they're going through the help approach. These are the journeys that they take. And when they contact me via WhatsApp, this is the way the journey looks. These are the attributes of the customer, which might include their email address, which might include their name. Customer, sometimes it might include their MTN number, hopefully. And you begin to gather that data and make sure that when the customer meets you the next time, for example, they might meet you in your showroom and they mention their name. You should have, it feels warm, because one of the things we talked about is expectations of customers. And one of the expectations that they have is some level of personalization. You have a warm feeling when your business recognizes you. When I call MTN or when I call Rough and Tumble or any of the businesses that I use, Domino's or all sorts of businesses in Nigeria, it feels good when they already know who I am, where I live, the last orders that I had, the conversations I had with their customer care agents, for example, or their sales agents. I would like to know that they know me to that extent. And when they do, that begins to build the intimacy that customers have with every brand. When they go to different channels and they see the consistency in the way they are treated, the consistency in the branding and the messaging elements, and the approach that the business takes, they begin to build a lot of confidence in the business, and they begin to actually become, like Prof said, they tilt towards loyalty, more towards, the amount of effort they then make, the incremental effort that they then make on those customers reduces over time, because you have had an omnichannel approach, to serving those customers.
All right, you go. I mean, you've gone. So welcome back and thank you very much. I mean, when we spoke about you coming from a place of numbers, I mean, you've actually helped to situate these to say, okay, numbers are good, but fish where the fish are. I mean, that's a very, very important nugget that I see there. And that's talking about meeting your customers where they really need you. So it's not a case where you leave them roaming. And then you also spoke about the issue of omnichannel. And I like the linkage you provided with what Mrs. Ogunlesi had mentioned initially, that yes, she had a long-term vision, okay, but she started with the simple stuff that you can then grow and then scale up, until you become, okay, the kind of, you build the kind of system that can scale up to handle the kind of growth that your business is involved in. So what I see there is an evolution thinking. To say you got to evolve, so you must from day one have an orientation that you want to evolve, so you have a vision, a clear direction you're going to. So in the long term, or you start small, but you know where you're going to. So it helps you to then scale whatever technology you intend to deploy, whatever systems you intend to put into place as you grow your business. And then you said something very important about centralizing your database, and you also spoke to what Ms. Ogunlesi has said, that at some point she started with the simple stuff and then she grew to ERP usage that helps her to aggregate knowledge across or insights across all the various segments. But there's something very important that you mentioned, and then I will climb on that and move to meet Debbie right now. Okay, you spoke about segmentation, okay, to say you need to segment your channel and know exactly, okay, which channel with this particular segment of the market want to reach me through, okay? Now that also ties back to the issue of data, analytics, and then of course getting insights from it, okay? And then about consistency. And then Ms. Ogunlesi also spoke about the fact that whether offline or online in our shops, there's a consistency of customer service that is engendered in that environment. So thank you very much. And so I'll be writing on that to Debbie. From a consulting perspective, having worked with different organizations, so you have multiple experiences across industries as a consultant, okay? And we're talking about segmentation of channels. We're talking about segmented experiences that is still uniform on the overall in terms of a consistency. Now, let me ask you a question, Debbie. Okay, and my question to you, let me try and be very specific so that because you're a consultant, I need to be very deliberate with my question to you, okay? So my question, and I need you to please address this to the SMEs, to say, what innovative approach can SMEs deploy to manage customer interactions? Remember, we're talking about now segmentation, channel, pass segment and all that, and the consistency. So the question is, what innovative approach can SMEs deploy in managing customer interactions, maximizing customer value, tracking service levels, and of course, assessing loyalty? I mean, you've gotten multivarious experiences, and so you are in a good place for SMEs to pick up their pen and paper right now and say, you know what, let's get the best from this lady because she's coming with multivarious experiences as a consultant. So Debbie, if I can have you speak to this. Can we have Debbie on now, please? Okay.
I think we
are getting a challenge with Debbie.
So we'll come back to Debbie. I think she's lost.
Great. Is that a problem? Okay, no problem. So, Dr. Bayo, sorry, Bayo, I didn't come, she used Bayo, because it's Bayo, okay? Now, Debbie is not here now. I'm still going to look at the question to you to say, based on the new normal, I spoke to COVID-19 before, okay? To say, is trying to zoom us out, but it's a lie. Okay, we have zoomed ourselves back inside right now. Can you hear me, please?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay, now what I need from you, Bayo, is that based on the new normal, I mean, post-COVID-19, we're talking about new normal now. Now, based on the new normal, we have seen a major change in customer behavior, and I alluded to it in some of the interjections I've done thus far. We're saying, what are the basic tools that SMEs can use to mine and analyze their customer data? And how can they use these analytics to improve customer experience based on the new normal, okay? And you as an expert in data analytics and somebody who's also got various experiences, how can SMEs, get this done? Thank you. So while we wait for Debbie, I can quickly jump on your tail and get some value out of you.
Thanks, Kola. Thanks so much. Very brilliant insight from our very esteemed panel. Very rich insights to support our SME. It's actually really awesome. Also, like Kola asked, so the issue is that even though we're in a new normal, we're still dealing with man who has capacity to adjust to every environment he or she finds himself. That's why I like to call man not just as Homo sapiens, I'd rather call man Homo adaptors. Somebody who has got what it takes to always adapt and adjust to realities per time. And for me, the best data scientists that we should all look at a time like this as SME is that Mama Put. I'm glad that Prof make reference to Mama Ikechi restaurant. And that for me, those are some of our best data scientists, and I mean it. There's a woman who knows her customers so well that she knows what to cook per day. She knows what goes for Monday and what goes for Tuesday. She knows what to cook based on the changes in weather. She knows even the customers that she will tell, oh, I will give you the usual, that the customer will not need to read out a list of demand because she's so familiar with it. She's so smart that she knows when salary is paid. So at those times, she's willing to offer them bundle service. Can you go with double meat and add shaki and all that? Because she understands the life of the customer, she follows them. And by the time it moves into the middle of the month, when things are getting dry, she knows that she needs to be cautious. So when they are saying we'll pay at the end of the month, she knows the kind of people she will tell you, I know you are not going to pay, because she has ability to observe and store the information about the customer. So she also knows what is happening around. She scans around to know that, wow, there's a new label, there's a new site about 100 miles from where I am that some new laborers are working, so I need to go get them and onboard them and be part of them. She knows when somebody is selling something similar to hers. So the fundamental principle here is the same principle of Mama Put, who knows that when it's 3 p.m., she cannot afford to keep her inventory. She needs to push the product aggressively by asking, buy two, get three. The same principle that we're all familiar with, that we see every day, is the fundamental core of the application of data in understanding our customer, exceeding their expectation, keeping them, and making more money from them. So from a theoretical perspective, the story of Mama Put can be summarized under simple illustration. OLA. What does that mean? O, observation. A deliberate effort to observe what is happening around you. What are your customers asking for? What are they saying? What are they demanding for? What are the changes in macroeconomics? You know, can you imagine how many Mama Put became a mask seller during COVID-19? That is adjustment to reality because everybody has moved into COVID-19 mode. So she started selling face masks. That is observation. Then the next thing after observation is learning, a deliberate effort to find patterns in those observations. Because people can observe and cannot make inference or insight from it. Learning is observing those patterns and begin to say, what are the shared commonalities that are consistent, that are predictable and repeatable, to the extent that I can organize them in a way that helps me to act. And that's the last OLA. I said observation, O, learning, L, action, A. Based on this body of intelligence that I have, I can then act. Act how? Service my customer better, proactively imagine their needs, bundle the best products for them. So the next question you ask is, what are the best tools? For me, it's important we understand the principles. And the principle is the fact that all these things by Mama Put theorem and practice is kept in her brain. And she teaches her children to also understand that. This is the dynamic, this is how it works. So in simple terms, like Ms. Ogunlesi said, it might be as simple as, your phone. You have a note on your phone where you capture information about customer. This person bought on the 7th day of the month and paid back on the 20th day of the month. This person bought on the 1st day of the month, paid back on the 3rd. Then after you have taken those observations, begin to learn. This woman always paid me back on the 10th or on the 15th. So therefore, this is the payment cycle unique to this person. That is using your phone note. Most of our phones today have got notes where you can write. Those who are more mathematical can move into what we call Excel. Excel is a little bit sophisticated, but I'm glad to say that many phones today actually allow us to use Excel. There's now actually a phone-based Excel adapter that allows you to do some basic calculation on your phone where you can type in information about customers on the go. Customer A bought on Monday, he didn't buy on Tuesday, he bought on Wednesday. These are the values. And then if you are now able to integrate your Excel sheet to what we call machine learning Excel, which are all things you can find on your phones. And they are all possible by downloading the application on Android, or if you use iOS, it allows to now help you to find patterns. Let me give you an example. If you're using an Apple phone, an Apple phone helps you to organize pictures of people together. It tells you, oh, these people look alike, and tells you, oh, these people, do you want to tag them with a common name? It's the same way that ML or your Excel can look at all the things you put on your note and begin to join them together and say, this customer that you have called Kasali, this customer that you have called Abdul, this customer that you have called Inkechi, these are the things that are unique to them in terms of every information you have dropped on your note about them. So what am I trying to say? Let us start based on what we know and build that knowledge. The other area where we're also going to rely on a lot of intelligence is on social media, especially for SMEs. We need a lot of social media to be able to gain a lot of intelligence. One of the popular tools, which some of us must have heard about, is what we call Google Trends. Google Trends is free. It allows you to know what people are searching and talking about in the location where you are. Google Trends is so powerful that you can actually analyze by states in Nigeria. And you can look at other brands that people are searching when they mention those words. They are the preliminary foundation of customer intelligence. Because the more you know about the customer, the more you understand their needs. And like Paul said, the more you can understand the friction and how best to resolve the friction vis-a-vis the alternative that exists in the market. Of course, there are more sophisticated tools especially for social media, how many people visited your page, how long did they stay, how much traffic do you have, what are the kind of people that came. So we have a lot of native analytics like that, whether on Instagram analytics, Twitter analytics, Facebook analytics. If you're an SME, these are basic tools that you must master and understand and apply, in this emerging light touch economy. But as I summarize, the fundamental principle is not about the tools, it's first about the principles. And that principle is at all times, let us run business like Mama Put, who knows how to imagine the future, plan ahead, own the customer, and win the largest share of the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Olubayo. Thank you very much. I mean, that's also a very, very interesting way of looping practice with theory, okay, providing a framework. And, one of the first things you threw at me today is homo adaptus. It isn't easy, okay? I mean, that's a very, very interesting expression to show the adaptability capacity of the individual, and that if we can follow certain basic principles, we actually are able to adapt and maximize value from whatever is in our environment. Thank you, Debbie. Coming back, I'm coming back to you in a few seconds, okay? But let me just throw in some things that I picked from what Bayo had said. He spoke about, when you hear OLA, you think it's Ola or somebody's name, okay? But he's been able to put it in perspective to say Ola or OLA is observation, learning, action. And it's given us some understanding of how we can actually observe, okay, and I will learn from whatever we observe and of course use that to take action. And when you look at this, these are frameworks that actually help us to situate what we're talking about in terms of practice within an intellectual environment. And he's also spoken something very interesting, especially to the SMEs who are listening to us today, to say the phones that we carry can do a lot more than we currently possibly use them for. I mean, some of us are very savvy and we're already using the phones extensively well, but it's also saying there's still other opportunities to move from the familiar to the unfamiliar, from the unknown, from the known to the known, okay? And he spoke about Google Trends, how they can actually give you very local, almost close, what I call closely contiguous to your location as a business, so that you can get real-time, information about what is going on around your environment, and that you can use all of this as your preliminary foundation to whatever model of customer experience delivery you're thinking about. So thank you very much, Olubayo. And based on that, I'll move to Debbie. Apologies that the Zoom bumped you off earlier on, Debbie. Welcome back. And my intention was to actually hold you down as a consultant and get some good juice out of you. So it's never late now that you're back, okay? So my question to you that I'd read out before and it was bumped off was, what innovative approach can SMEs deploy to manage customer interactions, maximize customer value, track service levels, and assess loyalty? Coming from a very rich background of being a consultant and you work with different industries, so you have an aggregation of knowledge across various industries. How can SMEs, okay, look at the various interactions that they have with their customers, okay, and see how they maximize value out of those interactions, gauge or measure customer service levels, and assess loyalty? All right, so welcome back, and sorry again for the bump off by Zoom.
Thank you. Sorry, for some strange reason, just network issues. Anyway, so thanks for the opportunity, first of all. I've thoroughly enjoyed listening to all the panelists so far. Very deep insights from different perspectives. And great to meet Adenike for the first time. I'm a huge fan from afar. Right, so for SMEs, with regards to innovation in managing customer experience, and one of the things that I have been driving in my own space recently is taking a step back from the whole talk about customer experience, and let's just focus on customer relationship management. Now, what I have found out in the period of the pandemic is that customer behavior has changed, right? Now, the fact that I don't buy from you anymore does not necessarily mean that I am unhappy with you, but I am not loyal to you. What I have found out as a result of the pandemic is that customers are buying based on priorities and preferences, right? Priorities, preferences, and availability, Availability, by that I mean proximity, closeness to wherever it is that you require that service. So in that light, the innovative ways I would say SMEs can work with managing customer interactions is know the why. That's number one. If someone is no longer buying from you, why? If someone buys from you, why did they buy from you? I do this with a lot of clients. I begin to ask questions around, when I do so, because one of the things that we do at the firm is we run satisfaction surveys for our clients. And one of the things that we ask is, why did you buy that product? Why did you choose the specific brand? Why did you choose MTN? Why did you choose Rough and Tumble, right? We want to know what made you not just take a decision to buy the product, but what made you take a decision to patronize that brand? Now, one of the things that is feedback from customers comes in different ways, but it also depends on how you ask the questions and what questions you ask. So when you know the why, you are the person of choice. Another thing that SMEs need to consider if you're looking at an innovative approach to manage customer interactions is, have you even made available points of interaction? So yes, you know the why, they bought from you, you know why they chose you. Do you have a support structure in place where they can reach out to you to get information? Now, information can come in different formats. If it's a prospective customer, it will come in the form of inquiries. If it's an existing customer, it may come like a request or a complaint. Now, that hub, that structure that you create to interact with your customers, I think Hugo, if I'm to pronounce it the way Kola has highlighted, the multi-channel approach. You may be a bit more technical to the MSMEs on this platform. But the whole point is when a customer calls you or sends you an email or sends you a chat on social media, WhatsApp, right? Those information that they ask you, that is meat, that is value. So you may say the person wants this, if you sell, let's say you sell bottles of water, for example, and I see your ad and I reach out and I'm asking, how much is your water? And I tell you, oh, the pack of water is 50,000 naira. And in your mind, you're like, for ordinary water, okay. Now, if you've had 50 of those kind of reactions and only one person buys, that's something that you need to look at, right? So are you attracting the wrong market, or is your product too expensive? There's so much you can get when you are very deliberate about the channel of interaction. So whether your customers are, and again, another key thing is, what channels of interaction do you have available? Are you providing what is convenient for you, or are you providing what is convenient for the customer? Interestingly, one of our partners at the firm is Volcacom. We do a lot of work with them. They are contact center solution providers in Africa. And I was talking to the MD recently. She said for Africa, the number one contact preference, interaction preference, is phone call. But for some of us, we have small businesses, even for fintech, we are pushing customers to live chat. We are pushing customers to send emails. We are pushing customers to read FAQs. This is Africa. We are very relational people. So if you want to interact and understand your customer, if you want that intimacy, for us is not technology. Intimacy for us is face-to-face, shake my hand, high five, what's happening over Mama Nkechi's shop, eating, drinking, right? So that's what intimacy is for us. So what kind of interaction platforms have you made available? That's the thing. And the second thing is, what do you do with the types of interaction? What insights, again, Baya talked about data. What insights are you getting? Are you just taking the call, delivering the item, or are you taking the call? Are you asking the why, right? Are you asking the why? And are you using the insights from those calls, emails, social media conversations to improve your process? It's very important. Another thing that I would mention is understanding what you will call, I'm going to break this down. Now, if I buy a product from you, there's a period of time I should use your product. In technical terms, it's called a customer life cycle. What is your product life cycle? How long will it take? If I buy a dress at Rough and Tumble, for example, that I usually shop, yes, I do shop from Rough and Tumble for my daughter, right? So I buy a dress, I bought shoes, like very lovely, beautiful shoes. And in 3 months, it was too small for my daughter. It was too small, right? Now, at what point does Rough and Tumble connect with me, understanding that if my child is 5 years old and she's going to be 6 and this level of growth would have happened, would she have outgrown her shoe size? Will she have outgrown her clothing size? Now, the reason I'm saying that is because if you understand how long it takes your customer to use your product, you will know when the customer needs to buy again, and you will trigger the repurchase. So another example, the person where I do my nails, I do this every 2 weeks, right? Now, if after 2 weeks, he doesn't come to me, and I have never, sometimes I forget until the nail falls off, right? And he doesn't reach out to me to say, madam, it's 2 weeks, time for you to do your nails. I may not remember. But if you calculate your customer's life cycle, you know when your customer would need you again. And then you don't wait for the customer to call you or send you an email. You will proactively reach out to that customer. That's another innovative way that you can begin. So each interaction, you've sold a product, you've made available your service. When does your customer need that product again? Because you have to sell. You have to sell. You have to keep selling. So understand that life cycle and keep staying in touch with your customer before the service is due. I mean, if you use I use the MTN plan, for example. If my plan is running out, it gives me a prompt, right? Auto renew, press this. You don't want to auto renew, press that. Those are like sample triggers. So you need to, again, the key thing is understand your product life cycle. The next thing I will talk about is what I would like to call reward, customer loyalty. I think Adenike had mentioned that earlier. It's important to reward your customers. If you want to keep your customers loyal to you, if you want to keep selling, right, it's important to reward. Now, this is where data comes in. You're not rewarding based on what you feel customers want. You're not rewarding based on what somebody else is doing. You're rewarding based on the data you have. And that data could be how much this person has spent over a period of time. That data could be, after capturing your information, like I'm always referring to you, madam, I'm so sorry. It's the child's birthday, 10%, that's loyalty. So there are different ways, but you have to cultivate the habit of using data. Now, one of the things I have come to understand is when I feel as a customer that you understand me, I'm not going anywhere. And this is a personal experience, right? If I don't feel, I have recently not been using my bank app for a while. And lately I've not used it for like 2 years since I downloaded the app. And during the pandemic, the bank sends me a message to say, you haven't used your app in a long time. We're just checking to hope you're okay and you're staying safe. Like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm stuck with that bank. That was a moment of truth. That was a huge, huge, huge moment of truth for me. Now, here's another thing I want to talk about, which speaks to the real innovation outside of all of these operations. How well do you even know your customer beyond telephone number, email address, their data, obviously what they bought from you, and date of birth? Those are the very common things, right? There's something we call customer persona, and I will break it down. Customer persona is basically what I am about as a customer. What do I like? What do I dislike? What motivates me? What inspires me? I just took a class with, there's a class I take, customer feedback management and journey mapping. And we created a persona where we asked them to go survey people and ask them what's important to you. Now, when that information came back, we found out that money was number one, sports was there, God was there, right? Now, it made sense to me because if you look around all the telcos today and all the banks, they will tell you, win 1 million naira up for grabs, right? Put so amount of money in your account and, be one of the lucky winners of 1 million naira. And I used to say to myself, how do they come up with the information? But after we did this survey or this persona research in class, I realized that, wait a minute, they understand that Nigerians, hello, we need money. We want instant value right now. Okay, so very important. Again, who is your customer? Let's even leave the ones you have. A typical customer, who is he? Describe him or her. It's Debbie. She's like this. She has 2 children. She lives here. She works there. This is what she does. This is what her priorities are. If you understand that, and which is what Apple does really well, you can preempt my needs even before I know it. And that is true innovation. That is true innovation. You can preempt my needs even before I have them. Now, once that begins to happen to me, the truth is I am not going anywhere. And even when competition comes, you make it almost impossible for competition to win me over, right? And again, moving to, I basically talked about, how to build that quality of interaction, to know your customer, have touch points where they can reach you, pay attention to what channels customer prefer to be interacted with. Don't just do what it is that you have. Make sure it is something that your customers identify with. If you create a channel that doesn't work, it will work, right? And then of course, think about loyalty, use your data, know your customer, capture the right data. I think I've pretty much covered the question, Kola.
Thank you very much, Debbie. And I mean, you've done some very good justice to that. And I hope our SMEs are picking nuggets here, but I'll also try to do a little recap of some of the things I picked away from what you said. I mean, first you started by, going back to the basics of the reason why customers buy, and you gave us three, priority, availability, and preferences. I mean, that's taking us back to rehash and refresh our brain and our minds about, what actually drives purchases, okay? And then you spoke to something that Mrs. Ogunlesi had spoken to earlier on also about being deliberate. I think Ugo and every other speaker has spoken to that, being deliberate about collecting data, okay? Define the process of collecting your data. What kind of data do you need? And then how do you, to what use you put the okay? And then there's something else you spoke to that was very interesting to say, convenience. I mean, we all talk about convenience, but convenience defined from whose perspective? Okay, the convenience from you as a business owner, or convenience from you to your customer, as it were. So a lot of times, maybe we develop things based on our own convenience. Okay, I'm looking at how easy is it going to be for me to deliver the service, not how easy it is for the customer to access my service. And so we need to rethink that particular concept, as it were. And then you talked about asking the why of every piece of information you get. So I found some useful things. But one thing I want to pick, and then I'm going to move from here and ask one more question from one person, and then we'll go to, in fact, let me just step it down. We'll go to some, because we already have questions in coming from our customers. So I'd like for us to deal with some of those questions. But before we get there, you spoke to something. I mean, a lot of the times we talk about customer lifestyle value, blah, 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 like that. But you brought a dimension to it that I'll call usage lifestyle, as it were. That's when you began to say, okay, if you know the usage lifespan of my product or your product, you can actually predict when it will be exhausted, and therefore you can prompt the customer to say, okay, by now I expect that this thing will be, and you use an example of the 2 weeks thing that you do with one of the people that you do business with. So a case of usage lifespan. So there's the customer lifespan, okay, and there is the usage lifespan, depending on what product do you use. There's something that we can also pick away, and I think SMEs will find useful depending on which industry you are in. And of course, you reference the issue of loyalty, and you spoke extensively about customer persona. I wish that our SMEs will understand what customer persona is, and maybe they reach out for deeper knowledge about customer, because it's a very, very profound and powerful tool to actually get into the heart and the mind of your customer. Remember where we started from, we're talking about customer intimacy. This is one of the most powerful ways to actually get intimate with your customer. So thank you very much, Debbie. And I'll swing quickly to the questions that are already, shooting out from here, with some very high level of passion, okay? And let me first ask the first question here, okay? This person is saying, and then I'll be asking you, Debbie. So that's why I'm going to be starting with you, since you are the last speaker, okay? The person is saying, I'm a founder of a real estate investment startup. We just launched and have customer experience as a focal point in our branding.
Seems we may have lost color there briefly. So we're going to be looking at some questions. I'm not certain we can pick up exactly on that particular question, but like we said, we're going to look at the questions we have, and we're going to be directing the questions appropriately to the different panelists.
Alex, I think it's
so
back.
as we go through the questions, let's see.
Okay, Alex, I'm back thankfully now. Okay. All right, so I was talking to Debbie. Sorry, I got bumped off again, but I'm back now. Okay. And I was trying to read the person who has a question, who is is a founder of an estate investment startup. And it says that they've just launched and they have customer experience as a focal point in their branding. But she's saying, as part of our marketing, we are building strategy with a journey beginning with cold calls and mails. How can we translate this to an intimate and trusting customer relationship, since we are sort of intruding on their privacy in order to initiate contact? I don't know if Debbie could hear me on that. It's quite a bit of a long question. But what it's asking is, okay, all right, so let me take it again. It's an estate investment startup, okay? And they want to focus on customer experience as their focal point of differentiation, okay? And it says, as part of their marketing, they're building a strategy with journey beginning with cold calls and emails, So it's asking the question, how can they translate this to an intimate and trusting customer relationship? Because they acknowledge that right now they are intruding in the privacy of the customer. So how can they move from cold calls and emails to a very exciting and engaging, relationship? That's the core of the question.
Yeah. I think the key thing they need to build on, because of the quality of that product, is to start with the relationships and not with the cold calls. So by relationships, I mean creating a community and creating a brand presence, right? And positioning yourself as this brand. Now, in doing that, I would say, what's the value proposition really that you bring to the table, right? And then who is your customer? Where would you find them? When you find it, even how you cold call is also an issue. One of the things that I was doing initially when we started the firm was actually cold calling, where we would go online, search people out and send emails and all of that. And it was zero conversion rate. It was a lot of work, but zero conversion rate. But I realized, and I'm sharing a personal experience, maybe that would help. I realized that when I started talking more about customer experience online, even as the president and as the brand, and sharing a lot of the information in the value of the service, I started getting a bit of following. Some of this following were people that were within my target audience. And when I now even do the cold calls, eventually it's within a cluster of people that I know are aware of this particular product. So what I would say, I'm not very conversant with your sector and how it works, but what I would say is you need to build the brand presence, build that brand experience. Experience management basically looks at 6 things. One of them is brand experience, there's product experience, and there's customer experience. Build your brand experience, build a brand around the need that your user has and push that information. Then the engagements that come from that information, let it help you define your market. And again, you need to, it sounds like the market, your understanding of the market is a bit generic. So when you're doing cold calling may not necessarily be calling them. It could be showing up at events where these people are, right? It may be joining those online communities. There are a lot of things that you can do really. But what I would say is, for the kind of product that you have, which is more high end, I would say focus on the brand reputation, focus on the value of your solution as against cold calling. If you kick off with cold calling, that may be a challenge, in my opinion. I stand to be corrected. I'm not very conversant with your sector. But what I would just, in summary, I would say cold calling is good, but if you're not cold calling to the right people with the right content, that would be a problem. If you start with the content, your brand, you're better positioned to cold call, to reach out to people that understand the value of what it is that you bring to the table. I hope that provides some form of clarity.
Thank you very much, Debbie. I mean, I hear you talking about the need that cold call may be good, but when you look at the kind of industry, you need to be very circumspect about how you go about it. And you're talking about building a community, you're talking about defining the value proposition, okay? And being very clear about, what you're offering, and then building a brand so that there's trust and there's confidence, because these are high-end market, as it were, in terms of, the capital outlay for the kind of products you sell are quite huge. So cold call might not do the best job possible, but create a community, build a profile, let be clear. I hope the person that asked that question got some value out of that. Now, thank you very much, Debbie. And I will swing from you to Mrs. Ogunlesi, because there's a question here from someone that I believe you'll be, a very perfect, a perfect person to actually take on. Somebody says, I'm a startup FMCG natural manufacturing company struggling to survive. That's the way this person has described herself. And she says, I observed my customers love my products, but do not want to pay me value for it. Hence, I'm operating at a huge loss, which is bad for business. How can I manage such customers? Because I've resolved to leave them and source for new customers who appreciate my value. Okay, this person is saying, I'm in FMCG, I do natural manufacturing, okay, but I'm struggling to survive. And her real problem is that she thinks her customers love her products, but they don't want to pay. Okay, maybe they do not, there's no what I call harmony between the pricing, the perceived value of the product and the pricing strategy she's deployed. So she's saying, do I dump these people and go look for new customers, or what do I do? So Mrs. Ogunlesi, when you were speaking earlier, you talked about differentiated pricing, okay, yes, based on your current strategy. So that's why I think you'll be a perfect person to actually help this lady answer the question. So over to you, madam.
So thank you very much for that. I think Debbie said something, and I think she needs to do that. Debbie says, you have to think of the brand, the customer, and the product. So has she created a brand? So what is the perceived brand value? Why don't they want to pay? She thinks they like the products. Has she asked the customers what they think? Has she asked the customers what they like about her products? How much engagement has she done with the customer? And is she building a brand? We're able to do what we do because we've been able to build a brand. If you have not built a brand, I remember starting out. I was at a market stall selling children's clothes with no brand on it. The dynamics of the business changed when we began to focus on, this is our brand. This is who we are. There is then a natural gravitation of customers towards you because you have defined who you are and the space in which you want to operate in. I don't know what natural products she's making, whether it's food, whether it's hair, whether it's cosmetics. Does she have sample pots that people can try? Does she have coffee mornings or get-togethers where she can actually ask the women, or the men, what exactly are you looking for? Because I spent 99.99% of my life on the shop floor when I started this business, in order that I would know the customers and know exactly what they wanted and know the price points they were willing to pay. And sometimes it's not about the price. Maybe it's about the packaging. Maybe it's about your communication. Maybe it's about your presentation. So to tell her do this or not do this, I think there's a whole mix of things that she's going to have to do, because it's not just based on one thing. So I hope that I've been able to help her, so she can go back to the drawing board. Does she have a brand logo? Is it consistent? Is her communication consistent along all the different channels? When she presents herself and turns up, is she consistent? I think everybody has used this word consistency, and it is really, consistency is it when you're trying to sell a product. So for me, she has to look at her systems. She has to look at her presentation, her packaging, her communication, and then actually sit and talk with the customers. I used to stand on the store floor. I was the chief. I used to call myself the chief servant, and I would do a survey, ask people on the shop floor, what do you like? Where do you shop? What do you like about our clothes? Why do you shop with us? I so resonate with so many of the things Debbie said, and I'm a fan, trust me, right now, here and now, of you as well. I resonated with so many of the things that you were saying. As practical, actionable things that you can do within a small business. And you don't need a big budget to do them. Sometimes people would tell me that, I don't have the money to do this. It's not about the money, but it's about ideas. It's about how you can, on a low budget, have on Coca-Cola present champagne. How can you do that? You can. It's called using what you have to get what you want, using the right words, using the right packaging, the right logo, the right communication. So I hope I've been able to help her. And then in your products, for us, for example, in our product line, we have some dresses that we call grade A. We have some dresses that we call grade B. From our data, we know people buy 23,000 Naira dresses. X number of people find it easy to buy 3 or 4 of those, but they'd only buy one that is 35,000. It's the data that helps us remind the data to be able to get that information. So perhaps she wants to have locks and just a basic product, and then try different price points to see which one resonates with her customers, and which one resonates with which segment of customers. Or perhaps really, truly, and honestly, rebrand and, get back on social media. The thing is, the marketing has become, I think, a little bit easier, not easy, but easier because of social media. And young people know how to use that digital space, Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook. They're able to create communities on those digital platforms. So can she do that? Can you create a community on a digital platform where you can talk to people, because maybe you can't necessarily find them, but based on the insights that can come from digital platforms, you will know who is buying what, whether they like what you're selling or not, and whether they like your pricing. Well, when your money hits your account, you know that they like your pricing. You know they have no objections to your pricing. So I hope that helps her.
Yeah, thank you so much, madam. And I found your answer quite useful for her, because there's something I picked from your answer. To rethink, she needs to reimagine our business. She didn't provide us much information that we can use to really deal with the question, but some things came out real and undeniable as a fact. And it's only when she's built a brand that she can actually price for that brand, because the perceived value is what the customer will pay for ultimately. And then the other issue, which Debbie has also alluded to earlier on, in terms of building a community. Now you've pin it down to building a community on digital or in the digital space, okay? And what I pull away from that in terms of a deduction is no business is henceforth limited by space, because it doesn't matter where you're operating from. If you can actually build a community within the digital space, it is regardless of your location, people will reach you because you've been able to make yourself accessible. And when we began, we talked about access and all that element. So I think it's important, and I hope this person is listening and can actually take a cue from some of this. But the biggest thing I pick away is that they need to rethink the business, reimagine, like you said, that maybe the pricing she's complaining about, I was even sure that people have problems with the pricing and it's not with the perceived value. Because for me, pricing is about perceived value. If I think this thing is worth 10 Naira, okay, you can call it 5 Naira. It's going to not, it can't resonate with me, because in my head, my perceived value is different from your own pricing strategy. Now, while we are there, madam, before I let you off for a few seconds, there's another question here, and I'm going to be asking you because it's actually within your environment. Maybe one of your proteges, as it were, here. Okay, it says, good morning, okay, to all our panelists, and let me leave all those, greetings. And the person says, as a startup and a small business trying to gain visibility in the fashion industry, and that's why I'm bringing this to you, madam. He says, what will be the best ways on how to keep your customers before and after business transactions, even though all measures are being put in place to give?
I don't know whether he's going to be back anytime soon. I don't know if anybody else can hear me.
We can hear you.
Yes.
So I think it was bumped up. So we're going to go back to that question. Did you get the question, madam? Well enough?
It had to do with the fashion business and how she keep her customers before and after service.
Yes.
A lot of the mistakes a lot of people make is they don't understand that the fashion business is a business. And all the rules of business apply to it. It's a real business. It's not a hobby. And if you want to do it, then you have to do it well. As it says in one of these very good books, that if you want to be a great company, then you have to do the things that great companies do. Now, how do we keep our customers? For example, if you come to the store as a mother and you shop and your child is not with you, you will get a text message from that store wherever you shopped later that day that thanks you for coming to shop with us, and will ask you the you get all the clothes fitted your child and you're happy with the things that you do. People are shocked when you send them a message like that because they don't expect it.
Yes.
You know, they don't expect it. People are shocked when they picked the wrong size, for example, and we allow them, so long as it is in saleable condition, to bring it back into the store and we switch it for the right size. People are shocked when you do things like that. Those are the things for me that you can do. How do you make your customers feel like human beings and not a statistic? How do you make them, how do you develop that intimate relationship with them? So we have a mini call center that actually cold calls all our customers because we already have access to them and access to their data. And what they're doing is asking our customers how they are. If we haven't seen them for 3 months, we offer them as I said earlier, a 10% discount. We call it the miss you discount. Or it's your child's birthday, we offer you a 10% discount to celebrate your child's birthday. On the morning of your child's birthday, somebody will call you and tell you that the window of your 10% is open for a whole week to give you, or 10 days, to give you the opportunity to shop at your convenience so that you can enjoy the 10% discount, because a lot of people are busy. Now you can even do that online, so you don't even have to go to a store if you don't want to go to a store. So I think the way we keep our customers is not different from the way an MTN will try to keep its customers. All customer service rules apply, whether you are in the fashion business or whether you are in any other business. And it's your ability to deploy and apply those whatever, what do I want to say now? I lost my train of thought, I'm so sorry. To deploy those different things. So that
no problem.
You can serve the customer and the person feels like a person. They feel that you're giving them a personal service. You call them, school shoes come in. Our store staff have a list of their customers who they would call to say, we've got new merchandise in. We know you would love this, and it is in your child's size. That customer goes, wow, okay, I'll see you at the weekend. They can sit in the store waiting for the customer to come, but they're proactive. They will engage the customers. Even though we have a bigger platform that engages customers, they on their own know the customers that come through their doors, and they will engage those customers. They will know, oh, they will even mention the name of the child. How more personal can you get? Danny would love these jeans and they will fit him beautifully. Chizera would love this dress and it's the perfect color for her. When people are talking to you like that, you've developed a friendship. And truly and honestly, the gentleman who, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, the gentleman who spoke about the Booker woman, he's so right. I really, truly and honestly first observed and learned customer service by going to the markets. And when you go to the market, you find you gravitate to a particular woman to shop from her. Why? She knows you. She knows your children. She asks your children by their name, because sometimes the children are with you when you are doing those things. If you're a working mother, you know, you're trying to balance everything and integrate everything together. So they get to know your family. Or even if they do, I want mommy, how about my children? They pack a little extra something and say, give to your children. That's gift with purchase. That's GWP. At, you know, crude, but that's GWP. And so, I mean, it used to fascinate me that these uneducated women could actually, uneducated, you know, could hardly speak English, had such excellent service strategies, because they were strategies, you know, and they knew what you wanted. We've been expecting you, ma. We knew you were going to come this weekend. This has finished, you know. And I think we need to apply those same principles. They are principles. And I think you had mentioned that when you first started talking. They are principles. And we have to apply those principles, whether it's fashion, whether it's selling tomatoes, whether it's MTN, whether it's whoever. The same principles apply. People want to feel like they're a member of your community, a member of your tribe. They're not just data, they're not just a statistic. And that's why you need to make them feel like they belong in your tribe. And then what Prof says, they become fans for the rest of their lives. So I hope that has been able to help her.
I think you did excellently well, madam. Thank you very much, because you actually looked back to what Prof had initially said about the whole be reducible to statistic, to numbers. And now you're saying it's not just about numbers. Okay, like we did say, you have to wrap the numbers in value. And you're saying, look, we need to treat our customers like human beings. And I love the way you also brought us back to the ways that things are done even amongst the so-called uneducated, but who are street smart, who use what I call native intelligence, okay? And that there's a whole lot of things we can learn from them and then import into how we do business. So I hope the person who really wants to grow our own fashion business, the way you've grown yours, has listened and taken some very good learning from there. And because everything comes back to intimacy, intimacy, intimacy. And when you break it down the way you've done it, I think it makes it a lot simple for a lot of people to understand and be able to run away with. So in a few seconds time, we're going to run a poll, okay, that is to choose anybody, people who will belong to the 200 people that will receive direct support from MTN post this particular session. And once we are through with that poll, I'll be coming at you, Prof. Okay, because there's a question here that I think you need to speak to. And then after that, I'll come to Bio and then come to Goma, because there are a couple of questions that I think speak to some areas of expertise that you guys have. So at 11:45, we're supposed to have a poll right now. So ladies and gentlemen, if you just give us a few seconds, there'll be a poll that'll be run right now to pick the 200 people that will receive support, from MTN post this particular Revv program. Okay, the poll is on right now. So if you are there, please fill the poll, and you might just be fortunate to be amongst the 200 people who receive support from MTN post this particular program, not this particular edition, the entire program. Okay, and so we're waiting for you to be a partaker or participant in this poll, and then fortunately, the host cannot participate. Fortunately, the panelists cannot participate because you're already successful by every right. So we wanted to give room for those who are aspiring to be like you, or at least come close to you. So thank you very much. And we're waiting for the poll to be over, and then we move on to the next question. Okay. Now, coming to the next question while we wait for the poll to be over. I'm just checking more questions that are coming in. Okay. Okay, all right. Okay, there are two questions that are directly, that are directed at Prof, but I'm going to ask the first question, which is the issue of, okay, can we close the poll now? How long does it take for the poll to run? Okay, while the poll is running, let me drop this question so that once the poll is over, Prof can take us on, okay? Somebody's asking a question about privacy issues, okay? And it's talking about, it's a case that's becoming a source of growing concern right now, okay? And the person is asking, okay, what are the best ways for new and growing SMEs to manage privacy issues? And I'm throwing this to Prof because when I read your bio and you look at the number of companies that you've been able to midwife, as it were, either as a co-owner or as a total owner, okay, it tells me that from different areas and angles, you'll be dealing with customer data, okay? And therefore, the issue of privacy is also something that you'll be used to right now from either a global perspective or a local perspective, okay? Now, the question is, how can SMEs best manage, okay, this growing concern, okay, in terms of privacy issues? That's my first question to you. I'll give you the two questions so that you can take them back to back, okay? Because our time is, really running quite close. The second one has to do with what you said before. I can answer the question, but it was asked of Prof, so I'll take it back to Prof. Somebody's asking, what is friction? Okay, or what is customer friction? Okay, so if you can take both together, it would be nice. Okay, the first one is talking about privacy in terms of customer data. Okay, how can SMEs get around this issue of privacy? And the second one is, what is customer friction? Okay, here you go, Prof.
Okay, thank you once again, moderator. It's quite a moment to have this opportunity of engaging with the community. So let me start with the second one. What is customer friction? So look at it this way. Before someone opens a door and put a sticker or put a sign and he or she says, I want to start a business, there is something in that specific market you think either the people that are already doing that are not doing well, or nobody's doing that. So you said, okay, I am going to become that person who goes into that specific market and now offer a service. That service you are trying to offer is to overcome a specific need, a specific challenge, or a friction that exists within that community. So in any market, there are things that are not optimized. Let me use the word optimized. So somebody wants to offer a service and somebody needs to pay for that service. But because markets are imperfect, they are not perfect. There is a little bit of information asymmetry. So let's look at it this way. I have 1,000 Naira with me, and I'm looking for somebody who can pay me 20% interest rate to borrow that 1,000 Naira to go and invest in his business. And I'm somewhere in Lagos looking for that individual. Unfortunately, at the same time, there is somebody who is ready to pay, let's say 25% for that 1,000 so that he can expand his business. Information asymmetry makes it nearly impossible for me to see that person that I will give that money, or for that person to also see me in order to take that money from me. So what happens? Somebody says, okay, why not I just go and start a bank to fix the friction that exists between Ndubisi, who is looking for somebody to give 1,000 Naira, but that person has to pay him maybe 10% interest for over a year. So, and also the person who is looking for 1,000 to expand his business, but cannot just find somebody to lend him 1,000 Naira. So information asymmetry is a friction. So when the bank opens the shop, I take the 1,000 Naira to the bank. The bank now takes that money from me, says, okay, I'm going to pay you that 10% you say you want. Let's say it's 10% or 20%, whatever it is. And now when the other person comes to borrow that money, the bank says, okay, we are going to add small money on top because of the service that we have actually performed, making it possible that Ndubisi and yourself have been brought together into an equilibrium point where both of you can have transaction, even though not directly. The service you are paying to the bank is for doing something, is for fixing a friction, fixing a problem that existed between myself who has money to lend and that person who needs that money in order to do something. That's what a friction is. So let's say also take Mama Nkechi's kitchen. Mama Nkechi has food in her house, but if she doesn't have a company, we have to be looking for Mama Nkechi all over Lagos. Maybe you go to Yanapaja, you can't see her. You go to Ajegule, you can't see her. And you just waste the whole day, you can't find her. But when she sets off a company, Mama Nkechi Kitchen, that company is now fixing a friction that you don't have to be looking for her, hoping miraculously you find her in one of the homes in Lagos. That company is now saying, anytime you are hungry, this is the place you need to come. And that company is fixing a specific need in the market. And that specific need is that people come there to eat food. So a friction is a problem that exists in a market. And only products and services can overcome those frictions. And this is the difference between inventive and innovative economies. If you go back more than 500 years ago today, the world GDP was largely flat. In other words, generations of people that lived apart did not experience any major change in their living standards. In other words, if you look at a map, you see that people that lived more than 500 years ago, they were very brilliant people. Some of the most construct of physics and chemistry, they developed them, but most of them died very, very poor. They did not die poor because they were not smart. They died very, very poor because they could not translate the ability of using their knowledge into creating products and services that people could buy. So this man has invented a social compound, but that compound could not be translated into a drug. Because only when you have the drug, that is when people are sick, that somebody can take the medicine and get better. And that is a problem in most developing economies like Nigeria today. There are so many ideas. If you go to Moluwe, if you go to Motor Parts, everyone is telling you, I can fix electricity, I can fix water. But wait, next year, nothing has happened because we have not translated our capacity to invent into innovation, because innovation is equals to invention for commercialization. If the thing is not in the market, it has not reached to the level of innovation. So Frictions are overcome through products and services, and products and services happen when someone has produced something that overcomes a challenge people have in markets. Now, the first one has to do with privacy. Interestingly, I would say to a large extent, our understanding of our constructs in Africa, also especially in Nigeria, with this issue of privacy is just because of what foreign media, and maybe what they write about, BBC, the New York Times, they create this consciousness in us that maybe Facebook is picking some of your data, that they are trying to violate something in you. But look at it this way. If you go to a typical Lagosian and say, I want you to pay me $100 so that I don't touch any of your data, but I will need $100 from me. Most people will say, am I eating the data? Just eat the data as much as you want, but just make that service free for me. So the question is, how do you have that trade-off so that that company can respect the privacy of that citizen, at the same time will have enough data to also offer service to that particular customer? If you go to the NIDA, NIDA has a privacy regulation in Nigeria. NIDA is the National Information Technology Development Agency, which is basically the institution in the country that actually looks into this domain of privacy. What NIDA is basically saying there is this: hey, companies have this obligation to respect the privacy of their customers, and that these customers are also going to be aware that without these customers, these companies having that access to their data, they may not necessarily personalize some of the services. So it comes down to two things. If I have my Android phone, I can get a cheaper phone because Google most likely will use my data to run advertising in order to subsidize the services it offers to me. Or if I pick my iPhone, which doesn't do advertising, but the cost of that service is going to be expensive. So which one do you prefer? It turns out that you can't have it both ways. Either you want the one that doesn't use your data to sell you advertising, but you have to pay for it, just like people do with iPhone services, Apple services. Or you look at the one that Google offers, where it says, I'm going to need a lot of your data, but I am going to use that to subsidize the services I render to you. That's why so many things we use from Google, most of them are free. But if you go to Apple, you have to pay for them. So if somebody is in a Yanapaja or somebody is in a Jeguli, the domain of privacy, of course, is still a little expected, but I don't think it's a really big problem today, because naturally our people are really decent. Nigerians are really very, very decent people. Somebody will not go to the market and start saying, you know that my customer, I didn't even know she had this kind of problem. No, because you want to wish the best for your customer. You want to make sure that your customer survives and succeeds, and you don't want to embarrass your customer because next day will come, the customer has to buy from you. So, but in the digital space, the domain changes. And I don't think largely that it is a very big problem. I don't think it's a very big problem. As much as people are getting so worried about privacy, I don't see it as a in the startups that we work with, we follow the NIDA regulation. And if you follow the NIDA regulation, it's not exceedingly very difficult thing to do. Just make sure that you have basic cybersecurity. Just make sure you do not violate customers' rights. Just make sure you do basic things. And if you do those basic things, I think that person should be fine. And we are not following the one they have in Europe. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. I mean, that was fantastic. At least you've pointed us in the direction of what the government regulations, stipulates, and how do you work around it to ensure that you don't, abuse that relation. And of course, if I may just add that if you have a long-term vision of actually growing your business and growing that customer base, it's important that you also don't abuse that privilege that you have of accessing data of your customer, because otherwise it will be purely transactional and you can't go far with that kind of mindset, as it were. All right, thank you very much. Now I'll come quickly because our time is running pretty fast. I'll come to you. Go. All right. I got a question for you. Okay, and it's from a gentleman who says, in the light, and he's saying there that Jumia, I mean, he's giving examples of Jumia, Amazon, Gigi, etc., who have little or no intimacy or direct contact with customers. How do we meet up with our target markets convincingly and efficiently to lead effective sales? Now, let me read it again. It says, in the light of digital services delivery, e.g. Jumia, Amazon, Gigi, etc., It says, with little or no intimacy or direct contact with customers, how do we meet up with our target markets convincingly and efficiently to effective sales? I don't know, did you catch the gist?
Yes, but I was trying to, understand whether he meant that, or whether the person that was asking meant that if I distribute my my services through people like Jumia and so on, how do I build customer intimacy? Do you think that's what he was asking? I wasn't quite sure.
No. I think what this person is saying is this, to say we have the Jumias, we have the Amazons, we have the GGs. Some have been able to build some level of customer intimacy, okay?
Yeah.
Now, and what I see is that these are my competitors already, and I don't have the intimacy of my customers. I'm coming from a zero base and saying, how do I meet up with my target market convincingly and efficiently? I think that's the
okay. I mean, so some of the things that have already been.
I have a question. I mean, I could be wrong.
Okay. So some of the things that have already been said here are key. So if I recall, Mr. Ogunlesi and Debbie have already spoken about, 3 areas that you need to focus on all the time. Building your convincing brand, building your, customer experience strategy, building your products. You may not be competing with Jumia and Amazon and Gigi. They have their own value propositions while you are building yours. One of the things that some of those companies may have in common is, just like everybody has said here, they are very, very focused on their customers. They're very focused on understanding those customers and building relationships with them. And there are so many ways now. One of the things that was said was that you can take examples across, even simple examples of how people are building relationships, because relationships matter. And in fact, as a smaller business, you have, that opportunity to build direct one-on-one relationships with your customer, even better than some big companies might be doing. Because you're in the data. Somebody said that they used to visit the shop floor and have a really intimate understanding every single day about what their customers face, what they expect. You don't need, so at some point you may not have to be the one that hires a company to do your research for you. You may be the one that has the opportunity at the very beginning to do the research for your company, to actually understand those customer personas, begin to build your brand, understand what part of the brand do they like, how do I build that branding such that it elevates, you were talking about moving away from commodity. And the things that move you away from commodity is this relationship, that you will have to build, this understanding of your customer that you have. There's a quote from the same Amazon that I like, the CEO, Jeff Bezos. And when he was talking about that, in his view, being obsessive about customer focus is the best way to achieve and maintain day one vitality. That's what I have to say to the person that asked. Focus on your customer, focus on your brand, focus on the product that you are using to fill the friction that that Prof talked about. And you will begin, to build those relationships. Don't miss the digital technologies that are already available that will help you push to a wider audience. Online, is a big community available to you that helps you to expose your brand. I hope that I have answered some of the things that he was asking, or she was asking.
I mean, thank you very much, Hugo. I think you did justice to the question, because I mean, when you look at some of these questions, they came right while we were talking. So some of those answers were already ingrained in some of the feedbacks I've been given. I just wrapped it up nicely by presenting it in a way that the person can relate with in a very cohesive manner. So thank you very much. Now, I'm going to come to Bayo now in a few seconds. And before I come to Bayo, I'm going to look what Prof said a few minutes ago. Prof used a very interesting concept. He called it inventive and innovative economy. Okay, see, if I, after today, begin to speak like a professor, don't blame me, okay? Just know that I took it from Prof, okay? He used the word inventive, or the expression inventive and innovative economy. And he interpreted it to mean from the point of invention to a point of commercialization, okay? And that's an area where I'm coming from to Bayo right now, because there's a question here, and I think it will set the tone. And the person says, how can we build rapport and trust with new customers if a brand is new and has less visual representation than other bigger brands? Okay, I know that, yes, these have been, answered in different ways as we were talking, but I'm just saying, let's take away from Prof's inventive and innovation economy, which talks about from innovation to commercialization, as it were. And now this person is saying, I want to build rapport and trust, but new customers are the ones I'm looking for. I'm also new, so it's a new. How do you build that rapport? And that's why I'm bringing it back to Bayo to say, the company is saying I have less visual representation than the bigger brands, but I want to build and I want to grow. What do I do?
Thanks so much, Kola, for that. New is actually a theorem in go-to-market. And one of the things they always advise, like Isaac Newton said, he said, if I've seen further and further, is by climbing the shoulder of giants. When you are new and you are selling a new product, the best strategy is to climb and leverage on existing platform. Find platforms that are credible, that are known, that are built name and establishment, and piggyback on their infrastructure, their asset, either as an add-on product, as a complementary product, and find your way within the established value chain. Is an established practice because it's going to take you so much to sell a new product as a new brand that is not known. So it might be that I find a partner that I can complement with, and that is why I will always encourage young SMEs to have a mind to partner. One of the things we have to drop on the table today, guys, is that willingness to find somebody that has complementary product. We are always afraid and scared somebody's going to steal my idea or they're going to take the shine off me. But the truth is, it's better to shine and somebody is shining beside you and both of you shine together than struggling to shine alone. So the dominant theorem here is leverage, manage, partner, and do some big thing. Imagine you want to do some new product and you go to rough and tumble, can we do a partnership? Maybe can I use your store? Even we also encourage those kind of people to use established store for trials. So go to a ShopRite, do a trial, because ShopRite is credible and it's believed that for them to allow you to use their facility, there must be some level of credibility. So new businesses must understand that path, that unique route to market where you partner. And it might also be Jumia or even Gigi. These are platforms that are marketplaces with credibility. And you just go in there. Just go to Gigi. You're going to see a lot of first-timers. Go to Jumia. There'll be a lot of first-timers. And each time I go to ShopRite, there's always a first-timer with in-store canvassers standing by their product, trying to explain, do you want to try it? Do you want to test it? Do you want to experiment with it? So the more we learn as a starter that the credibility of an established brand amplifies who we are, give us credibility, and we derive positioning from theirs, the quicker and faster we can find our way to the market. And that is why, like we do in MTN, so many vast providers have used MTN as a platform for expression. For example, we disrupted the old dynamics of music distribution in Nigeria. That unknown guys became celebrity overnight. Why? We provided our platform. A long tail strategy. We provided our platform and everybody came on our platform and they're able to shine. And that is the future of modern businesses. Leverage big platform and everybody shines. Thanks.
Okay, we may have lost Sir K temporarily, but we're gone. So we've gotten to the stage where we're going to be rounding up. We know it's been a very engaging and exciting session. I think, okay, Sir K, you're back?
Yes, I'm back. It's been a very interesting time today with this Zoom bumping off and on. Okay.
Yes.
And asking to send reports to Zoom. We don't want the reports right now. We just want you to leave us alone and let's run our session successfully. All right, thank you very much, Bayo. And I mean, what I take away from what you were saying was the issue of complementarity. Okay, find a product that can complement you so you piggyback. Issue of leveraging on existing products and platforms. Okay, and then don't try to run away. So strike or seek to look for partnerships so that you can actually, arrive faster. Okay, and I like the quote you gave that if I've gone further is because I rode on the back of giants. Okay, so I mean, these are huge opportunities for us to all learn from. All right, I have two more questions here, and I would like to drop it on one on Debbie. Okay. And this is a question, and I'm dropping it on you because you spoke about customer persona, as it were. And the question is, do you think there is a limit to the level of intimacy between me and my customers? Okay. Do you think that there is a limit to the level of intimacy between me and my customers? Okay. If Debbie is there, she can help us to take that up. Fantastic. Good.
Okay. Right. So from a professional perspective, in line with doing your business, I would say that when you say limits, I would say there's really no limits, because it's just how you use the information that is the issue, right? And then it's also about what your customer considers as a boundary. If a customer does not put a boundary on certain things, and I think you can go, as far as.
Go on, please.
Okay, then I think you can go as far as the information you need to gather. And I will give you an example. If you're browsing and you go to a particular website and make inquiries about a product, you will notice that after some time, every time you open up your browser, you're seeing that product pop up. If you're on Instagram, you're seeing a sponsored ad specific to that product. Now, obviously, your IP address is public knowledge, clearly, right? Because it's the intelligence on the computer that pulls out that information. Now, some people will tell you, oh, you go to a website, this whole cookie thing, I don't understand. I think that's the BIOS area. You go cookie, you click on your access to your computer. So what I would say is there's really no limit, except your customer says there's a limit. All the information that you can get about your customer is interesting to get it, right? Get as much as you can. And I'm going to connect this to a question that I have seen in the chat, in the Q&A, which I also responded to, where someone was asking, my customer life cycle is 1 year. The product cycle is 1 year. Do I have to wait for another 1 year before I sell again? Now, with customer intimacy, you wanted to know exactly what the customer is doing, where they are, what they're doing, what inspires them, what motivates them. You will realize that there's more to that product cycle that you have. So instead of waiting for 1 year to make another outfit for that customer, you will see opportunities, right? So there's except I tell you as a customer, I don't want this information out there. I know at the time, even for telcos, I've worked in telco as well, where you have short codes and you can block all these SMSs that come in from nowhere. You can actually block that. If you don't do that, then the message is still coming to you. So the customer puts the limits on the intimacy. I will put it that way. As a business, everything you can know about your customer. But again, remember, just remember ethics, remember professionalism, very important. That's what I'll say.
All right, thank you very much. And I mean, that's all about it all today, because the last question has actually been taken care of. Okay, when we talk about how do you, I mean, when Mrs. Ogulesi spoke about building a community, person saying, I'm living far out of town and my business is in town. How do I create that bridge that helps him to close the gap? And we're saying there are huge opportunities that are there, and we can utilize it. So thank you very much, Debbie. And I think it's been a very robust session today. There's still a couple of things we want to do before we leave, but I like to thank everybody. Let me start from the first person, my first panelist that I feel the questions to, Mrs. Ogulesi. Thank you very much for sharing with us such rich knowledge and experience, and of course expertise that has marked you out as a successful business in the Nigerian environment and across Africa, as it were. We really truly appreciate you. I also like to thank Debbie, okay, our consultant in the house, for such a very robust and rich repertoire of knowledge garnered over several industries and companies that you've worked with and that you brought to bear, aggregated together for the help of our SMEs, okay? I'd like to thank you, Go, okay, for giving us perspectives that only a chief that sits on such a huge array of numbers, but that are couched in values, can give us such levels of feedback. So thank you very much, Hugo. The prof, okay? Inventive and innovative economy, okay? Thank you so much for the kind of knowledge that you brought to bear, and how you've also given us some very sound insights on how to make this in real. Okay, it's not just about theory, it's not just about frameworks, it's about actually practice in the environment that we're in. And to Bayo, thank you for those almost adapters, and OOOOLA, you know, those acronyms that are not just acronyms in terms of theory, but things that are practical that you can actually put your feet on the ground and while your head is still eye there in the sky. And it's so nice to see that we have over 700 participants on this this platform today. Very fantastic, and I must say a big thank you to all our panelists, because you've been quite rich and engaging, and that's why we find people who latched on and have not dropped off, and it's a big kudos to you. We're trying to wind down, and I'm just taking cues from my commanders-in-chief at the back who are giving me instructions on what to do and how to do. So don't mind me listening. I'm looking into my phone to see I'm being given direction by some very powerful people who are behind this, but to determine what you say and what you don't say. Okay, so thank you very much. And I think there's one more last thing. Oh, I know there's a big boss asking me, okay, I'm supposed to give some bit of information on what's next here. Okay, that next week's masterclass is on the 30th of September, and the theme is managing the most critical resource. Okay, that's the workforce, and that's going to be HR related. And the link for the masterclass will be sent via email and SMS to all those who have registered on our website. That is on www.mtnbusiness.com.ng/NEV Revv program. Okay, and remember that those who register for the Revv programs and attend the masterclasses, you stand a chance to be showcased as our business crush of the day. Wow. I mean, some people today are already, appointed as business crush. Okay, all right, where we showcase the SME across all our social media. There's also the opportunity to be named as one of the yellow 200 who will benefit from productivity support, market access, advisory services, amongst others. So it's been a very rich session today. But we will not wrap up without saying the biggest thank you, okay, to those who hooked up to this program from the beginning. Because without you, I mean, we would have just talked and talked and talked, and our talk would have been useless, okay? The essence of this program is to create impact, to equip people with tools, with knowledge that they can take away, run with, and actually transform their business. We want to hear, stories about successful businesses that came out of whatever knowledge people pick from here, so that you can say, oh, Debbie said this, that day, and I took it away. Mrs. Ogunlesi said this, that day, and I took it away. Bayo said this, Ugonwa said this, and Prof said this. And then you can say, this is what I've done with it, and now my business is at this level. So we can see scale, beginning from where you have been or where you are right now to where you desire to be. So I want to say a big thank you to the over 700 people who have hooked up onto this program today. We say big thank you because we came here because of you, and we're so glad to know that you're still here with us more than 2 hours after we began. So thank you a million times over. All right. I think in terms of a wrap up from me, it's also saying, okay, I sent you some important. Okay, I told you I've got big bosses here. Okay. All right. Okay. I think I've done the information, the directive that I've received from my big bosses at the back. All right. Let me just check if there's any more things that we need to do. Okay. All right. I think we're covered. All right. Okay. So I think on the overall, we've spoken extensively today. If I were to do a wrap up, I tell you what, I got loads and loads of notes that I've taken. But I think what is been important in all of this is that we've come right full circle, okay, from where we started from, to say this is all about intimacy, okay? It's all about insight generation, and it's all about what do you do with the insight to ensure that you not only build your business, but you're able to scale your business, and you're conscious of what is required to ensure that you continuously monitor the pulse of your customer. And again, one of the big things that we took away from here is that you don't necessarily have to start with the big stuff. Okay, you can start small with the basics, okay, but be intentional about it, be deliberate about it, have a long-term plan. So you know that, yes, I'm evolving, but I'm scaling my business. I'm also scaling my ability to, engage my customers. And number 3 is to be segmented in your thinking so that it's not one size fits all. Okay, so you're able to give differentiated services and, of course, differentiated pricing where there's a necessity to do that. Okay, and final point from me is to also say that we've had one particular expression, total of our is an experiential economy, okay? So it's experience from design to the measurement. It's experience all the way. And so if we take this away, I believe that we'll have had a great time today. And so on behalf of all the people who have been behind this thing, planning this thing and cooking it so well, the people that are not seen, okay? And those of us who are seeing, I want to say a big thank you from Linda, the head of the team, to every member of the panel, and to the crew behind, from Damilola to me to Alex, everybody. I want to say a big thank you for having a great session today. I've had a good time. I mean, I've had fun learning again, and my note to be prized, session of mine. And if you need to read my note, you need to send me a special invitation so I can share you my note. But again, I want to say a big thank you to everybody. And it's a wrap from all of us here at MTN. I want to wish you a most exciting day. And we look forward to joining us next week as we do the next one that we focused on, human capital development. And that is on the 30th of September. So from all of us here, thank you very much. And from me, thank you very much for being a solid and very powerful panelist and for making this day a very exciting day. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.